of you have ever smelled something and went, what's that smell? Can you think of something that when you smell it, you go, I know what that is? Any ideas? How about a skunk? Do you know a skunk when you've smelled it? Hey, welcome. How you doing, man? A skunk you always know, don't you? You smell that skunk, you go, ugh, skunk. It's gross. It's not a good smell. How about if somebody's left the gas on the stove? You know that smell, don't you? How about if you walk in and somebody's cooking something? That's a good smell, isn't it? You know that, Mr. Robinson, don't you? Yeah. Depends on what they're cooking. Okay. You mean you're telling me there are some things that you come into a house and you said, oh no, not that. Broccoli. Okay. All right. Last time it was cheese. Now we're up to broccoli. Okay. Broccoli no good. Brussels sprouts probably not any good. Brussels sprouts and broccoli. All right. So our noses can tell us things and can occasionally get our attention. How many of you ever just been like absorbed in something? You're just thinking, maybe your wife, homework, your mind's somewhere else, and all of a sudden you hear something. You go, whoa! Wait a minute. What was that? Sound? You've heard that? What kind of sound gets your attention? A loud bang could get your attention, right? Yep, Mia?
When my dad's on the computer goes.
Okay, so you can hear all the sounds of that, all right? Yeah, what about you?
I hear drums.
You hear drums? Okay. Luke?
That happens to me the other way around. Say I'm doing homework and listening to music, and my brain does that when the music stops because my battery's dead.
Oh, okay. So that's a warning sign to you. No sound, battery dead. Cat?
School bell.
School bells. School bell tell you to get moving? How about an alarm clock? How many of you have to deal with an alarm clock?
I get up early anyway.
How many of you wish you didn't have to deal with an alarm clock?
I wish I had to do a.
Why, you'd rather wait till the alarm went off? Would you set it late or early?
Early.
Early. That
There's
way
a
it wouldn't be
reason
late.
there's a snooze button.
Snooze button, bad move. All right, so we got sight and sound. How many of you you put something in your mouth and you go, oh, this doesn't taste so good. Back to the food thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know not to eat it.
Candace asparagus.
Broccoli and asparagus, got those things covered.
When I stand in front of the trash can, that's when I normally try something new.
Oh, that's not good either.
It tastes disgusting.
Right. How about, have you ever seen something out of the corner of your eye and said, well, wait, what is that? Yeah. Have you ever been in a car and you're driving along and traffic just stops?
I don't drive.
You don't drive, but you've been in a car. Have you not? All right, so, but what happens when you're in a car, if you're on the highway and all of a sudden instead of doing 70, you're doing 10? If you're lucky. What goes through your mind? Cat?
Seriously, can you get going or something?
That goes through your mind. How many of you would say, I wonder if there's an accident up ahead? And part of you is hoping there is, and then part of you is going, that's not a good thing to hope for. Somebody could be hurt.
Sometimes I wish I could.
Somebody
Wish your car could
to the
fly.
hospital.
Yeah. Somebody could go to the hospital. That's right. So there are things that get our attention that can draw us away from what we're thinking about, what we're doing. And today was one of those things in the first reading. Well, how did God get Moses' attention? Did he bake some bread and Moses said, something smells good?
He set a bush on fire.
Set a bush on fire.
He made a bush.
Yeah. What else did you notice?
The celery tree.
Okay. So we had these things happen, but God with Moses today, a burning bush. How many of you have ever seen a bush on fire? You have? Wow. Did you call the fire department?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty good. I would have stared at the bush for a little while. But most of us, if we were not looking for that, if we were doing something else, and all of a sudden, maybe out the corner of our eye or our nose tells us something, we start to pay attention and we suddenly see this. And did you notice God said to Moses, after he finally gets his attention, Moses starts to walk over and God says what to him? Anybody notice that? What did he say, Luke?
You should have bare feet on this holy ground.
That's right. How many of you still have your shoes on?
I do.
How many of you believe this is holy ground? Why are your shoes still on then? Think about
Because you
it.
haven't told us to take them off.
Oh, so, okay.
I don't want to step on this winter.
If I told you to take your shoes off right now, would you do that, or would you say, that's really weird, why is he asking us to take our shoes off?
I would say.
I would do it, but
You already did.
I like to
Okay,
do it
so
too.
we, think about that. There's only one other place that I can think of outside the Bible where a reverence for the place that you are, they take your shoes off, and that's usually a high-scale Japanese restaurant. But where else do you like to walk barefoot? Where do you want to quit?
In shower.
The shower, that's a good place. Shoes in the shower, not a good idea. Cat,
moonbound.
where?
Moonbound.
Moonbound, stand up there. Pool. How about the beach? Anybody like the feel of the sand? Maybe not the burning hot sand, but that kind of cool sand going between your toes. How many think the beach has a level of holiness to it? That you experience God there.
Actually, some of your feet can
Odd
go
that all
in
the
mine.
sand is completely manufactured.
Oh, okay. So we have God sitting there going, and then as they start their conversation, God says to Moses, I need you to go do something. And how many when somebody asks you to do something, do you come up with a million reasons why you can't do it? All of us do, don't we? Excuses, excuses, excuses. I think the last time we talked about no more excuses. But Moses says, if I show up and they want to know which God sent me, and who should I tell them to call? What level of authority do I have to go and talk to them? And says, you just tell them, I am sent me. But then a little later, Moses is going to keep having excuses. And God eventually, just a little patient with the excuses, finally gets past them all. And Moses has no choice but to go and do it. How many of you ever tried to start a project and it didn't work immediately, and you got frustrated with and just walked away from it? Anybody out there ever have something you started, you wanted to see it completed, you knew it was a great idea, and it did not happen in the time frame that you thought? Because that's another part of today's readings that we heard. Jesus' parable about the fig tree that doesn't produce. The landowner wants to cut it down. It's no good for nothing. I planted it. Didn't work. And somebody said, no, got to be a little more patient with it. A little more persistent in what we're doing, but let's give it time. How many of you find that hard to do? To be patient with something you're doing, but yet to be persistent, or to keep trying until it works? Yeah, happens a lot, doesn't it? And we should be, I guess, thankful that perhaps the message that the Bible wanted us to understand tonight is that, in God's time and our time, not quite the same. That not only are we called to be patient with ourselves and with others, but mainly because God is incredibly patient with us. Works through our excuses as he did with Moses, shows us the way out of our dilemmas when, just as Paul said, happens. So those are the things I'd invite you to think about this week and maybe the rest of Lent. Where are you rushing, trying to get things done too fast, when patience might be what's called for? What are the places where you're so focused in that it's hard for God to get your attention, or for that matter, anybody to get your attention, and yet your attention is exactly what's needed? Will you pay attention to what you find, your sense of smell, your taste, your touch, and your hearing tell you is going on? To take all that information in and figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing. Amen.